Okay, hello everyone. We are back live for the Prospero.ai stock market live stream. Welcome in here, everybody. I'll let everyone have a minute to tune on in. The markets are green this morning, actually this afternoon. They are up as much as 2.7% in the QQQ. The SPY is now up just under 2%. Dow Jones up 1.2%. IWM up 1.7%, and the VIX is actually creeping higher as we get closer to the closing bell here today, but it is down 5%, but it was as low as 27 around 10:30. So it's been creeping up a little bit too much for probably some of the bulls' likings throughout the day. But give this video a like if you love our live streams, love our topics. If you're on Twitter or YouTube, send the likes our way. We love seeing you guys in here. Say hi in the chat if you're a regular, if it's your first time. Let's see who's in here today, excited for the stories, which I will go through now. So starting, we're going to cover the action we're seeing in the market today, which is very green after comments from both Besant and Trump calmed investor fears about the tariff situation, a bit of de-escalation going on. But as George has been saying, there is no resolution currently and no deals actually done. So how long can this rally last? The net option sentiment in Prospero for QQQ and SPY is looking better today. So feeling a bit more bullish. We will see. Then we have a story about Sam Altman stepping down from Oklo, which is a nuclear energy company that we've talked about before on the streams. It sent the shares quite a bit lower in after hours yesterday. But when I was looking at Oklo today, and let's just look again to confirm, it was back higher in the green. Yes, Oklo is up 8% right now. So that dip in Oklo didn't last long. So is this bullish for the company? Is it bearish? What does it mean for the AI energy narrative when everybody just a few short months ago thought AI was going to need all this nuclear energy to grow and the demand would just be there? Is that being questioned now by this move? We'll go through all of that. Then obviously we're going to react to the Tesla earnings, which we got last night, which the earnings themselves were a bit lackluster, but that didn't stop the stock from moving higher today. So Tesla is up, I think, about 8% right now. Let's get a live look for you guys. Okay, Tesla is up 7.5%. So green on the day. So we're going to go over what is making the stock move higher, even though the earnings weren't great. We got some comments from Elon about the full self-driving rollout, the Tesla Optimus rollout, his commitment to Tesla coming up in May. So a lot of things to go over there for Tesla stock, a favorite amongst a lot of our viewers. Then we're going to get into another stock that's reporting tomorrow, Google. YouTube actually turns 20 years old today. So happy birthday to YouTube. Google acquired them in 2006, and what they acquired them for versus what they're worth today is insane. They're now, estimated to be about a quarter of the entire value of Google as a company. So pretty crazy. And we'll preview and highlight Google's earnings tomorrow. After the result we got from Tesla, I'm wondering, is everybody feeling a little bit better about Google now that we've had our first big tech reaction, and it was a good one, even though the earnings were poor. So we'll go through all of that. Then we're going to get into Meta, which has two updates we can go over today. Meta launched a new app called Edits. So if anybody is a content creator watching the streams and use CapCut, there's a new competitor. It's also a free app from Meta. You can download it in the App Store, check it out. I think it's supposed to be very similar to the CapCut app. And then they're also launching ads globally in Threads, which I'm not sure how popular Threads is these days, but an expansion of their business and their global ad empire there. Then we have to bring up, hey George, welcome to the stream today. We have to bring up Occidental Petroleum, which we've covered before on the streams because Warren Buffett has been such a big shareholder of it, and it is now in a 3-year downtrend. So the question is, was Warren Buffett wrong? We've been giving him so much props for going so high in cash as the markets become more volatile and pulled back recently, but this stock has not worked out in his favor. why not? So we'll take a deep dive there. And then last but not least today, we will go over the Trump administration's decision to ban petroleum-based synthetic food dyes, which is going to affect a lot of the companies that take up our cabinets like PepsiCo, General Mills, Kellogg. Is it actually bearish for those companies if it goes through? And how will they adjust to the times if it does actually become fully banned, which I think I saw a timeline if it goes through by the end of next year that they expect it to finally be 100% in place. But today we have to start with the markets all in the green today, George. The QQQ is leading on the day, up just under 2.5% now. So all of the indices are off the morning highs, but still very green. We got comments from Trump and Besant, both de-escalatory in the tariffs and the tensions that we've been seeing. I saw QQQ and SPY net option sentiment up a lot higher today in Prospero. So are you feeling as good as the market's reacting? Is this a short squeeze, or is this actually the sign of an early rally starting here?
I mean, it did look like it was going to go a lot more positive this morning. So, I mean, I think I saw the S&P up over 3% at one point, and it's really pulled back from that a little bit. So, that has me a little bit more concerned that it's more momentum than some kind of, structural improvement. Like, it's kind of what we keep saying, that we want to see more deals, right? Or we want to see deals because we really want to know, in order for the market to be healthy again, we really need to know what the long-term impact of this is. And, to that end, we need to know what the deals are.
And like you're saying, we still haven't gotten any deals. So why do you think the market is reacting so bullishly today? Do you think it is just a factor of the fact that people were positioned bearishly, so we're seeing a short-term short covering rally? Because obviously the Prospero signals are looking a lot more bullish. So what is causing like such a big shift today specifically?
I don't think it's a short covering necessarily as the bulk of it. Yeah, I think that's part of it, but I think it's what we talk about. When people don't know what the downside is, they'll build in a downside, their model in a downside that is, beyond what they think is reasonable, right? So whatever they were modeling as like a reasonable bottom before, has raised a little bit with this news, because you have to model out the worst case scenario differently. Now they're saying, Trump did at least give a number of, that he thinks it's going to at least go to 50% or lower by 50%. I don't remember which one. But even though there's not a deal and you can't say, okay, now we know how to model it, going forward, and we can feel a little bit more stability, we can kind of raise the floor of those models. And that's what I think we're seeing today. And that's also why I think we didn't see the rally hold as well, right? Because if there was a more substantive confidence to it, I bailed out of, Aries this morning when it was up like 7.5% as an example, because I was nervous that the way the market was reacting, there might be a long-term deal coming, and that would have really, hit my shorts. But because there wasn't, the market, I think, was responding with a lot of momentum, as if maybe there was going to be something coming, and everyone, I think, was kind of preparing for that. But then when it didn't come, I think that's where you see the pullback, and that's where you kind of see the momentum yo-yoing it one way and then the other.
So we had that massive day, April 9th, a week after the tariff announcements, and it kind of got faded all the way back, almost right to the lows. And now I feel like we're kind of in no man's land. So do you have a leaning one way or the other right now, or are you kind of in a waiting period where you're just going to stay hedged both ways and kind of see how it shakes out from here?
Um, I'm in a waiting period. I mean, I think that is the best way to describe where I'm at. I will say one thing, and I think I'm gonna put the letter, like I think I'm gonna put the letter about this tomorrow. So a little preview. The one thing that I think that I've learned is, in this, I don't want to, like, I'm calling it like double dipping, but I don't want, and I think I'm gonna use the double dip the chip Seinfeld meme if I can find it. But I think where my portfolio performance could have been a little better. And it's always, we're having a great year, but I don't necessarily think we got as many gains from the last 2 weeks as we could have. And I think part of that is this double dipping problem where I was going long things like consumer defensive and gold, and then also heavy short things like consumer cyclical and financials. And even though I made some really good picks like Palantir long, I wasn't really able to see the gains on that because I think, double dipping too much on, basically you might call it the non-tariff news trade, right? Or the negative tariff news. So I think in the future, I'm either going to, heavily short, say, consumer cyclical, or more go long, gold and consumer defensive. But I don't think I'm gonna commit as much of my portfolio to both. I think that's the big lesson that I've learned from this.
And it seems like today we're seeing an unwinding in what everybody's calling the sell America trade, where it was like gold was ripping, the dollar was dropping, and all the mega cap tech stocks were dropping. Do you think that can continue? Or like you were saying, where you're kind of in a waiting period, like you don't have really a leaning one way or the other on if we saw like the max pain in that trade or whatnot?
We need news, right? It's what I keep saying. Like, yeah, these little. I mean, we need deals. Like these little news events are nice and they're rallying the market, but like we're seeing, we'll go back. Like there's kind of a decay function to it, right? Like we see the news, and then when the deals don't come, the news just kind of like wears off a little bit, gets a little bit stale because I think people actually want to see the deals, or institutions actually want to see the deals. Retail on the whole, as we've said, has stayed a lot more bullish. Is in these levered ETFs. We're seeing a lot of evidence on that. But I think if there's a roadmap for this now, I think basically if we get a negative news event, the market's reacting really positive. I mean negatively. If we get a positive news event, the market is reacting positively. But if that positive news doesn't turn into deals, like I think each day, it doesn't happen, because they're talking about de-escalating, right? So if we don't see kind of de-escalation on both sides, if we don't see kind of the rhetoric in the US and China lean more towards like, hey, I think we're going to get a deal done, because we've just talked about de-escalation and we've kind of heard confidence on the American side that a deal's coming. But people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't necessarily heard that from China yet. And maybe they're not. Maybe they're just, I think Asian cultures generally are much more like about substance than talk. And that's just that's not a target on Trump either. Like if you talk to like any VC funded company in the space that I'm in, they're all like talking a lot more than their actual results. So I think it's very much like a Western American thing. So we might not get that talk from China. We might just get a deal and they're going to say done, that kind of thing. But um, I'm not I'm not as confident as the Trump administration seems to be talking that we're going to get a deal done.
So we're about to get into the test. We're about to get into the Tesla earnings reaction, but I actually want to start before there with Elon's arch nemesis making some news today. So we got some Sam Altman headlines that he'll be stepping down from Oklo, which was the nuclear energy stock we talked about in the stream a couple times. And when it was announced, it was actually last night in the after hours. Oklo was immediately down like 15%, but obviously the markets were green today, so that probably helped. But Oklo was able to recover all of those gains and is now, let me get a live look, up 7.5% on the day. So why he was stepping down, what was said by Oklo is that it gives them more freedom to pursue deals with other AI companies if they want to work supplying them with energy. But the way this was talked about in the beginning was that AI was going to have so much energy demands that you would think OpenAI would be enough for Oklo. So is this challenging that narrative? And what does it mean for Oklo and OpenAI, the fact that they're kind of separating the partnership a bit here?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you can always like the market will always tell you how it feels about something, right? And I don't think the market thought that, because I mean, it's one of those things that's kind of an empty statement. Like, I should hope that Sam Altman being on the board would not prohibit Oklo from doing business with other companies. If anything, the inverse is true, that because he's stepping down at the board, I think that was probably read by the market as as OpenAI kind of saying, maybe we want to keep our options open in terms of our power options. And maybe, it kind of went the other way, that maybe some people on the board of OpenAI were concerned about that conflict of interest and potential business deals. That's clearly how the market's reacting. But I mean, the funny thing with these nuclear power things is, like, it's a long, like, the story on them is a long time. So it's really kind of funny to see the level of reaction to this. But I'm sure, we always talk about the modeling. I'm sure the way that the bulls were modeling Oklo were very much around an idea that they were going to get a certain amount of business from OpenAI. And, maybe you have to discount that a little bit. But the valuations on these nuclear companies are crazy. And anytime you have a crazy valuation, news events can, send it one way or the other.
Oklo and some of the stocks like that were looking interesting, at least. Is that, we kind of highlighting the quantum stocks on Monday. Would you put the nuclear stocks in a similar category?
Yeah, I'd put them on that, like, light, right? I think the nuclear are a little more solid than the quantum stocks. That's an even longer tail. But both of them, I think, are going to be very sensitive to macro conditions. They're growth stocks. We were talking about that, as well as, news events like this, right? Because this is stocks that trade at these valuations are trading almost exclusively on, perception and hype. Um, so, the idea that maybe Sam Altman is not going to be as interested in, maybe, exclusivity with Oklo or anything like that. Yeah, that's a legitimate reason to, dull the hype, because all of these modeling assumptions are going to be centered around that.
I see a question from Mario in our chat, and I'm trying to show it. Uh-oh, Siri's listening to me. Can you guys still hear me? Why
Oh, that's
why is
great.
Siri on my computer?
I love that. Thanks, Matt. Matt has already found the double dip the chip GIF.
Oh, really?
Um, so I guess that's definitely going. Um, okay, these are great questions, Mario. The first is, yeah, actually, even if you look um, at the Besant announcement, what was it? Was that yesterday? I think that was yesterday. You can see by noon, like, SPY net option sentiment is definitely climbing. We've definitely seen that, both, I would say on both big, like, kind of news leak days, we've seen it come up. And that's what SPY QQQ net option sentiment is designed to do. The problem now, right? And this is why we've, I think you're asking this question because, like, I've dulled it a little bit and I've said I want to see it maybe for days at a time, right? Because there's a lot more evidence right now that institutions are swing trading SPY and QQQ. And I think a lot of people are swing trading. And I mean, you always have those zero DTE options. But I think in terms of institutions, I'm seeing a lot more evidence of swing trading. And, if you want to figure that out outside of me, all I'm looking at is volatility and the typical volatility in the stocks. And you can always look at the range. You look at SPY right now and you can see it vacillate between the bull and the bears, right? That tells you how volatile, like, anyone that watches SPY net option sentiment knows that, it typically does not move that quickly. And if it's going to move that quickly, you're definitely seeing, swing trades on those. So, is the deep pocket money, like, bullish when it swings up? Absolutely. But I can't take that as seriously as I normally do, because I don't know if they're just playing the news event and, like, today it's going to pull back a bit. I mean, obviously still a good day, but it's pulling back a bit. Or if it's something more lasting. But the types of behavior I would look for, right, is where are we? Are we in the 40s today? I want to take a live look. Did you look at the beginning of this, Stephen?
Yeah, last I looked, SPY was 50 and QQQ was 45.
Yeah, we're at 47.41 right now. Like, I would say the kind of behavior we'd be looking for is them both crossing 50 tomorrow. Then I'd start to think about flipping my trading portfolio a lot more. But like, for example, right now I am 5 long and 2 short. I've thinned my portfolio a little bit on the high. I've thinned my portfolio a little bit on the high conviction, but I'm closer to even in the trading portfolio just because that's such a big portfolio. Like, I like to be a little bit I like to stay a little bit more neutral on that. But if I see them go up to, but today I'll swing a little bit more bullish for sure on it. But if I see another day, if they're like 50 tomorrow, I'll definitely swing the trading portfolio more bullish. And I mean, 5-2 is pretty bullish, but I might go something like 8-3 or something like that. Eight bulls and 3 bears. But I mean, I like, that is all to say I am playing it as bullish right now. But if I see those numbers go down, or obviously if I see a news event where I think, oh, I'm not going to wait to see them go down, then yeah. Hopefully that answered your question. I'm going to move on to the second one. Do I feel like I don't think it's like, so the one thing that I always say to retail investors is that the one thing that institutions do is they don't play the same playbook. They'll learn, they'll adapt, right? So where that applies now is, I don't think it's becoming normalized, but I think people are figuring out how to profit off of it. I think people are figuring out how to get their contacts inside the Trump administration, and they're figuring out how to be the ones that are on the inside of these news events, because we see the option sentiment swinging up. And there's definitely, like, the one thing that I will say about this, that like these news events that are very interesting, is, even before net option sentiment is picking these events up, I would say there's kind of a level before that where I see the market acting more bullish than I can understand based on the other variables. So I do think there are, there's probably like an initial, like, smaller leak than like a larger one. And, sometimes even tweets. And then and sometimes that comes out with like a story leak too. That's happening. We kind of got, before the Wall Street Journal reported on it, we kind of got like some Twitter accounts being like, Besant's considering. So yeah, there seems to be a policy, and there's a practical reason for that. Like, we can all agree there's too much corruption in the government on all sides. Like, that's something that I think we can all agree on. But I will also say there's a practical side to it too, where I do understand why, when the economic situation has been so volatile, why they'd want to find out and why they'd want to check with some people before making a decision. And, those people leaking, I think if anything, what it is I think people, when we weren't in a paradigm where the president was the news was breaking in a tweet from the president before it, officially broke in some newspaper or anything out. Like, I do think part of it is that people that got inside information before, I think they were kind of more hesitant to go all out and use it. But I think the paradigm now is nobody cares. I think if people get information that they feel they can act on because we're kind of in an era where I think if anything, people are becoming desensitized to corruption. I think people are just being like, hey, I got the news, I'm going to trade on it. I don't care if people know.
And we got one more question in the chat from Jag asking about Coinbase. I guess we'll have to take a look at the live signals.
I was looking at, yeah, I saw that. That's what I was doing. I like the technical flow. But that's interesting. Coinbase was locked at like, I'm sorry I missed this. Coinbase has been locked at 100 net option sentiment. Oh, wow. This would have been a really good signal since the price was, it first touched 100 when the price was 162.86. Yeah. People that watch Coinbase, you got to tell me this kind of thing. I would have liked to know that before. I missed this. But I don't love seeing that 85 net option sentiment now. And I've been kind of disappointed with how, Coinbase, MSTR have performed, I'd say today specifically, with kind of the more secure, macroeconomic situation. But yeah, like this is, if you guys are, sometimes I depend on the people using the app. If you see that like flat line of 100 on Coinbase, let me know. Don't love it as much at 85 and what I'm seeing in the price action, but I'd expect, based on what I know about Coinbase, that it should, unless there's some news event that I don't know about or anything like that, I would kind of expect it to be back up in those high zones in the next couple of days, and I'm going to keep my eye on it.
So let's get into reacting to the Tesla earnings, which was a double miss. I think most people had pretty a high probability that the earnings were going to be bad. So it seems like the stock and the investors were not too concerned with the actual earnings this quarter, since the stock is up over 6% today. We got some other updates that Elon gave on the call. He will be going back to Tesla, I guess, full time. I don't know how much time he's been spending there recently, but in May, he's going to go back there a lot more. He said that full self-driving for June is still on target for Austin, and also 1 million Optimus robots expected to be in production and being delivered by 2030 or even 2029. So how are you feeling about the reaction we've seen out of Tesla stock based on the earnings and some of the things that were said on the call?
I mean, it's such an interesting dichotomy that we're seeing with Tesla. I think first off, like one of the biggest things is Elon paying more attention to Tesla is good news. I think obviously a CEO needs to be there to run things, and his attention was always divided. But there's a legit, they have a problem to solve here. But I think he's doing a really good job of, hyping up full self-driving, hyping up AI. Like he'd have to. Those were terrible earnings. I can't think of a Mag 7 company that has come close to a 71% decline in net income. And net income, people are taking like special charges down like all the time. So it's actually not that rare for a company to have like a bad net income quarter. That being said, I don't know if anyone, feel free to call it out in the audience. Yeah, I don't really know of another like kind of net income decline that's that bad. So that tells you everything about what the shareholders think about the potential of full self-driving and what they think about the potential of the Tesla bot. I think the only other kind of funny thing to say about it is I saw that I think it's like GLJ Partners is lowered their price target from like 23.75 to like 19, and it's just like at that point, like why are you even writing an analyst report? You could just like have like one line and be like, I don't like Tesla, like I don't like Elon Musk. Like you could have the same thing and just like write whatever number you want. I think that it's like that's the one thing about this, that it's just like so funny. It's become so politicized, and there's just people on both sides that are there, and then they're just being like, oh, like all the Tesla haters are just rooting for the stock to go down. And then on the other side, like there's people like, oh, Tesla's going to zero. It's like completely cooked, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, and both of those sides think the other one are like biased. And it's just like really funny to see like a very biased person like call someone else biased. Um, but I think that's the world we live in. And you kind of expect that with politics because because at the end of the day, these things are very fuzzy in politics. But you know what isn't fuzzy? Like numbers and stocks, right? It's not a $19 stock. Sorry, GLJ partners. It also has some legitimate problems with their business. Sorry, Tesla bulls. Like, it doesn't mean that these problems can't get worse. Like these problems could get worse. Like people boycotting Tesla internationally is a real thing. But that could be made up for by things like self-driving and the Tesla bot. And on the other hand, we're not yet seeing, like, I think people, like, I do think some people are like also just like calling the collapse a little soon, but there are things to repair. There are things that if Tesla's going to get their sales on track and really get back to where they were trading before, they're going to have to, I think, like handle some of this public perception problem. But yeah, it's funny that people can have these kind of like Tesla to 1,000, Tesla to zero type debates. But it's always somewhere in between.
Jonathan is in the chat asking about Reddit, saying it has a very high upside breakout in Prospero. Does that surprise you?
Oh, Reddit just looks really good overall. Um, no, I mean it doesn't surprise me because I think especially their data sales business, I think has a lot of potential and as well as their ads. And I just think that like I think that Reddit has the potential to replace a lot of search engine functions long term. And already, like a lot of how I like look for reviews and things are like I'm googling things and expecting like a Reddit thread to be at the top. I really do think like of all the social media platforms, Reddit has the best way to handle, filter, escalate information. I don't think they've got the monetization totally figured out. But, if you're talking about like, look at Tesla, right? It's got 100 upside breakout, even if sales are falling, right? Net income is falling. And I mean, I think that is sometimes you're pricing a business not what it is, you're pricing it what it could be and what it has the potential to be. And when I say price in this, I mean like where people are betting in options. So yeah, I think Reddit has a lot of potential. I think there's a reason that the options markets like it.
So there is another Mag 7 stock that's going to be reporting tomorrow after the bell. That is Google. And YouTube actually turns 20 years old today, which Google bought for 1.65 billion in 2006. And today it's estimated that it's about 500 billion to 550 billion dollars worth. So it's about a quarter of Google's business now. I think, and I was thinking about while you're talking about Tesla, thinking about Google, they're more similar to Tesla than I think a lot of people realize. Like the upsides for Google is basically full self-driving and AI, and that's very similar to Tesla. Obviously, robotics. I guess the state of the businesses today are very different with like what drives them, cars versus search engine and YouTube. But are you feeling any better about Google heading into their earnings with how Tesla reacted? I feel like Google can probably deliver a bit more. Seems like there's more meat on the bone with the valuation. So, how are you thinking heading into Google for their earnings?
Like I want to get out of my lawn. Like I think I'm a little worried about the ads business forecast with consumer confidence, right? If people are spending less, you're gonna have to grade, like companies are gonna spend less on ads. So I think you have to be cautious in ads driven businesses. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to get out. I'm going to get out of Google. But uh, I think the problem with Google is kind of the opposite of what carried Tesla yesterday, which is like, yeah, they're in, Google does have the same upsides, but Google doesn't do a very good job of getting people excited about their future. Like, even YouTube is just like a fantastic business, but they're not very good hype people. Like, and maybe that's not their culture, but that's the reason they're undervalued. You have to hype yourself up, hype your company up if you want to attract, retail dollars. Less so with institutions, but institutions are going to price something down if they don't think that it can attract those retail dollars. So those kind of things spiral up. But yeah, I think that as I was thinking about this, Elon Musk is a little like, Elon Musk is so polarizing. So I don't want to use him. But like, I bet if you switched NVIDIA and Google's CEOs, like, NVIDIA would go down 20% that day and Google would go up 20% that day. Like, all things equal. And like, that tells you what a good job Jensen Huang does. But I was just thinking about that and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's what would happen, because you do have to hype people up. And it's not just getting on your conference call and hyping people up. I can't remember the last article I read that was just like, oh, Google's making this product and it's going to be, legendary. It's going to change the world, blah, blah, blah. They did that when they were younger, right? I think Larry and Sergey and, Schmidt to a certain extent, maybe he was a little late on this. They did great at that. They knew how to play the press and they knew how to get people excited. Like, I even remember in recent memory, like, them hyping up Google Auto ML, because it's hilarious because Google Auto ML, like, never became anything, but they hyped people up. And I think that's the problem with Sundar, that he just is not. He's like a responsible custodian of Google, which is like, that's better than someone that isn't, right? That's better than someone that the market reacts poorly to. I don't think they react poorly to him. I just don't think he's very good at hyping people up about his products.
That's a very interesting point. That'll probably be a short, the Jensen Huang versus Sundar Pichai comparison. But you did say you're concerned about ads, and our next topic is about Meta. They actually announced that they're launching ads globally in their Threads app. There's actually 2 updates for them, and they also launched a brand new app that's going to be a competitor to CapCut, which is like the #1 editing app now since it's free and for a lot of the features. It's called Edits. So there you go, from Meta. So does it excite you at all that they're launching ads in Threads, expanding the business, and then launching a whole new app that the upside TBD, I guess, of it?
To me, that makes me even more sure about what I said, because you know what it is smart to do if you are worried about uh, if you're worried about your ad revenue going down, get a new stream of ad revenue, because they can get on. Meta can be like, oh, we're forecasting our ad revenue in Instagram and Facebook. I was like, is it called Facebook anymore or Meta? It's confusing. I don't even know the right answer to that. But hey, we're forecasting, we're forecasting, and that'll be, I don't know, that'll be like, $500 million less. But we're predicting like $300 million in Threads ads. That's what you can do. That's the kind of thing you do if you're smart and you want to manage the perception around potential problems. And yeah, I think that, Meta, like, Meta and Google ultimately, like, I don't think they should really be, if you just look at their businesses, I don't think Meta should really be trading at the PE premium that it is over Google, purely looking at their businesses. But I think Meta, looking at their businesses today, but I think Meta, like we're talking about, I think they kind of have not only do they have a better plan for the future, I think they have started, like, I don't know who Mark Zuckerberg brought aboard, to do this. But ever since the metaverse thing, they've managed the perception around their stock and the actual like earnings release, conference call. They've done a great job at that. I mean, really, after Tesla and Nvidia, who are just like by far the best at that, Meta is probably like, below them in the pack. And then there's everyone else that's a notch below Meta in terms of how they're managing their conference call, news cycle, press release.
So we probably have time for one more topic here today. George, what do you think is more interesting, the Buffett topic about Oxy or the food dye ban topic?
I think the Buffett topic,
All
because I
right,
think
so
that's a
let's
good I think that's a good lesson.
Okay. So I was interested to look at Oxy. I hadn't checked it out in a while, and it's been basically in this downtrend now for 3 years. Let me take a live look now. I see the market's kind of, a lot of stuff is slightly pulling back now. So, but yeah, Oxy is red today. It's under $40 per share. It had a big dip in early April with, I guess, the tariff announcements. And it's something that Buffett was piling into recently. And we give Buffett a lot of credit, as he obviously deserves, and he's gone to a lot of cash. He's holding on to probably something even more downward in the market. But he was, at least it seems like Buffett's been wrong about Oxy so far. So what is the dichotomy there? Why is it so attractive to Buffett, but it hasn't been working for years now in the market?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great little lesson in value investing. And I think, a lot of people could do better with this in terms of like the retail investors that I see. And when Buffett likes something, he likes it because he thinks the cash flow it's producing relative to where it's trading is attractive, right? So, unless there's a material change in the cash flow, which we'd probably see by him selling, right? The price going down, he would view as a good thing. And even if there's a slight decline in the cash flow, and the price is also going down, he might still view it as an equivalent deal. And I think that that's a really important, like, I've seen some people try to apply, I would say, that lesson in like not as good of a way. Because when I hear people say that about like averaging down on a tech stock, it doesn't apply as much, because when you're looking at a tech stock, right, a lot of the way those growth stocks are valued is their growth based on healthy economic conditions is trading at a premium, right? So when you look at that, if there's like a 20% decline because people are less bullish on the growth, you can't necessarily say there won't be another 20% decline, because in terms of a growth stock, we see 40% declines in growth stock because of macroeconomic conditions and nothing else all the time. But if you're talking about like one of the things that makes value investing work, right? If you're talking about cash flow per share, actually the market going down makes that more of a relative value, because there's much more price support. There's a lot of algorithms and value-based algorithms and screeners that hedge funds run where there will be support where it gets down to a certain like cash flow per share and they're just buying. That's not necessarily true of a tech stock. That's not, the algorithms aren't picking it up based on value. They're picking it up based on growth and momentum and how growth stocks react to positive conditions in the macroeconomy where they're valued at a premium. So those are very different scenarios. When you see people out there saying, oh, average down because I liked it at this price, I should like it at that, that's not necessarily true of a growth stock in the same way it's true of a value stock that is cash flow driven.
Very interesting point there. And D. Curtin actually said, LOL, I bought Oxy before the tariff announcements. So if your lesson holds true, George, it should look like even a better value now than I guess after.
Well, what I would do is I would go back and I would look at their cash flow forecast, what it was then, or EPS might be easier to track down. Look at their earnings per share when you bought it and see what it is now. I think you can Google that pretty easily, and that should tell you if it's a better value or not.
And with that,
you might be able to get You might be able. Let's take a look and see if we can find it. FCS per share, Oxy. Sometimes you can get like a time series. I got free cash flow. Price to free cash flow. Here we go. All right. So here it is today. This page isn't working. All right. This is not going to. I logged in like they asked me and then it stopped working. All right. I don't think we have time. Maybe we'll do it next time.
no
or
doubt.
maybe perhaps at the end.
So we'll do the switch over and we'll catch you on the other side, George, for the model portfolio update. He's already out of here. Let me make myself big. I hope there was no echo for you guys watching today. I forgot my headphones again, unfortunately. So I was trying to mute myself as much as possible. Hopefully it sounded okay for you guys. Let's take a live look at net option sentiment in Prospero for the SPY and the QQQ. The markets are drifting lower. The QQQ is now down or up. Well, it's down below 2% up on the day. SPY is up 1.4%. Dow Jones up less than 1%. IWM down up 1.5%. They're all drifting lower though. So we're seeing some fading as we are going to the closing bell. In Prospero though, the SPY still has a 50 net option sentiment. So still holding steady there. And the QQQ is at 45 as well. So both of those are still in the bullish territory. I believe we'll ask George when we get back in here, but I believe the bull bear line for the net option sentiment of the indices has been at 40. So I think just firmly bullish levels. I believe I also saw that Trump is set to speak again today at 5. So there could be some fireworks in the after hours. We'll have to wait and see for that. George is getting back in here. George, is the bull line for the net options at 40 still?
Yeah. I mean, it's been working pretty well for a bit at those levels, so I haven't really seen the need to change it.
Something I think I saw on Twitter today was that Trump is going to speak again at 5. So I don't know if we're expecting any.
Oh God, really?
Yeah.
I just want to break from this. Who else feels that way?
Especially when it's in the after hours, late at night. Like at least speak at
Yeah,
like 2
I've got
o'clock
like a
or
dinner tonight. Actually, what I'm going to take that to mean is I should maybe close out some of my positions. What a fun year this is. All right. Tariff Watch 2025.
Chris said this just in, Trump speaking at 4 p.m. EST. Just kidding though. Mari said, OMG, wish he would stop talking and tweeting.
I mean, it would just be nice if we could just decide what we were doing. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Oh, I gotta share my screen. Okay. What's QQQ and SPY? What's the current?
I'm seeing 49 for SPY and 46 for QQQ. We will swing more bullish, but cautiously, given that Trump's speech later could send it
Either way. Oh, God, I hate when I do that. Okay.
Not surprised to see growth continue its positive run, but it's interesting to see on the 1 week small cap value performing better than growth. My main takeaway here is that if you look on longer time scales, small caps are lagging as well as growth, especially 3-month large cap growth. We look to add some exposure in consumer discretionary, tech bulls, as well as consumer defensive and energy bears.
All right. Interesting to see SPY and QQQ up there. Okay, what was I doing? How is it that consumer discretionary is doing so well, but GM is not? What good are you, GM? You can't even do well on a day consumer discretionary is doing well. I should have never trusted Yum. I don't know what I was thinking. Never again, Yum.
have to fix that. It's not WTF, it's WTW. $36 on each, I think it said. What we got going here? It's funny, we're often shorting this. Oh, is VRT finally coming back? I've been waiting for that. Okay. No. Oh, this has happened to me before. I hate this. I don't know why that happens. But it throws off everything. We already have that, so we're going to do that. Okay. $15 is low. Okay. No, I think that's perfect. All right, we did that. Now let's take a look at those. Look good. Oh, all right. HRB. Might want to close that. All right. Well, I'm going to think on these moves. I think that's all, though, unless we have any questions.
Don't see any questions. So we will be catching everybody back at our normal time, Monday, 11 a.m. We're getting into an exciting period with earnings. So everybody continue to watch the streams. We'll have a lot of updates in the near future. But see you all then. Talk to you soon, George.
Bye.